So when it comes to trying to understand the basics, we have to build ourselves up. So the way that we build ourselves up is not so much the exterior of ourselves. Like say when someone says that they're going to build themselves up, oh okay, I might get a new hairstyle or I might get some more clothes. That's the exterior. We gotta dig deep, and what I mean by digging deep is digging down in your roots. So just like when it comes to math, right now we're looking at the Math by Audrey learning tree, and the foundation of all math comes down to your strong skills of the adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and then if you get those, then you can extend to fractions, decimals, and percents. So before we can start working on algebra and maybe even a little bit of statistics, maybe even a little geometry, we have to get our roots handled. So one of the things that we're going to focus on, as I promised to my morning people, we're going to look at fractions. So I know this is the part where everyone just all of a sudden shuts down. But here's the thing. In order for you to understand your fractions, you have to really understand your multiplication. Because fractions is nothing but division. Fractions is nothing but division. You have your numerator divided by your denominator. So in order for you to break those things down, you have to really know your multiplication facts. Now, so as promised, we're going to look at fractions from different perspectives, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Not only traditional proper fractions, but also looking at some mixed numbers. So for those that don't know me, my name is Audrey Codner. I am the owner of Math by Audrey, and I come in here to break down math concepts that you generally see a lot for your GED or high school equivalency exams, your ASVAB if you're trying to get into the military, the TEAS test, the HESI test to try to get into nursing school, and then also the Accuplacer if you're trying to get into community college. So you'll be able to score high so you can go into the college algebra, in which that's the one that is accredited. So as I mentioned, there are different types of fractions. So you have your proper fraction, you have your improper fraction, and you have your mixed numbers. So, yep, I'm back, Mel. So for your proper fractions, that means your numerator is smaller than your denominator. So if you had a pizza pie that had 7 slices, there's basically 3 slices maybe taken away from it, or it could be 3 slices that's left, depending on what the situation is. Whereas the improper fraction, your numerator is bigger than your denominator. Okay, so improper fractions, most of the time they're going to want your answer as a proper fraction, but in order for you to get from an improper fraction, you got to go and probably figure out that you get a mixed number, because fractions is nothing but division. Okay, so when you have your 21 over 2, all right, that you can divide and you will create what's called a mixed number. So the 6 is the whole representations that you have, and the 1/8, that means 1 out of 8 is either remaining or could be missing, okay, depending on what the situation requires. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just a quick example, and I can show you exactly where some of your errors occur. So for our first one, we have 2 7s plus 3 7s. Now, this is probably a 1-point question on your GED, or is considered a basic question on the ASVAB. The reason why, when you're adding or subtracting, you want to have a common denominator, correct? Now, this is the part that throws a lot of people off. They see the addition, and they add the numerators perfectly fine. 2 plus 3 gives me 5. But then they also add the denominators. That's where your error comes in. And I will tell you the God honest truth that if I have a question like this, 5/14 will be one of the options on the test. Okay? So when you have a common denominator, you do nothing with the denominator except for repeat it. You are actually adding the numerators. All right? So we got this. Okay? Good. Tanzia, we together. Okay, good. All right? So this 5/7, it gives us a proper fraction. That's your answer. So if I take it to another extreme, let me move it over a little bit so I can bring it over here. So if I had okay, we have 1/9 minus 5/9. Okay, we do have a common denominator of 9, so we're not doing anything to that denominator. We're just repeating it. Okay, we're just repeating it. So we have to have a common denominator. So now take a look. Okay, take a look. We have 1 minus 5. Okay, so if I have $1, but I want to spend something that costs $5, that means I am short $4. Okay, so all you're doing is subtracting the numerators, but you're keeping the denominator. So good, so you have -4/9. Alright, so the key thing when you're adding, good, so you have -4/9. Alright, so the key thing when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you want to have a common denominator. But what happens if they give you something that doesn't have a common denominator? What do? Well, let's explore it. So we have, let's say, 1/4 plus 2/3. So with the 1/4 plus 2/3, sorry, I just had to clear it up a little bit. If I look in the denominators, we do not have the same number, unlike what we did up top for the examples. This was a 7, that was a 7. But this time, this is a 4 and this is a 3. So we need to find what's called the least common denominator or multiple, okay, your LCM. So we want to know what is the lowest number in the 4 times table and in the 3 times table that they have in common. Okay? So if we go with the 4 times table, we have our 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, then we have 16, then we have 20, and more to come. For the 3 times table, we have 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, then we have 9, then we have 12, we have 15, we have 18, and there's more. Right? So what is the lowest number do they have in common? Alright, so Big Al, I see you. Leroy, I see you. Evelyn, I see you. There was a couple people early on. Deshaun, I see you. Congola, I see you. Okay. Alright, True Jam, how are you? Welcome back. I see you. Okay. Shy, I see you. Okay, True Blessing, I see you. Tammy, I see you. Good. Alright, So the lowest number that they have in common is 12. Now, another way people try to figure out what their denominator is, sometimes they just multiply the numbers, the denominators. Now, if it was like, I don't know, 8 and 24, instead of multiplying 8 times 24, you see how the importance of knowing your multiplication facts can help you out, because then I can use a lower number. All right? But since we want our denominators to be 12s, so I'm going to rewrite this. So now my denominator, this is going to be a 12. And this is going to be a 12. So here's the question. How do I make this 4 into a 12? Okay. How do I make this 4 into a 12? What do I need to do? Let me lower it down a little bit. Okay, times 3, okay, multiplied by 3, times by 3, okay. So when I multiply this denominator by 3, whatever you do in the denominator, let me clear this up a bit, you have to do in its numerator. Okay, so whatever alterations you're doing in the denominator, the same thing is happening in the numerator. So now 3 times 1 gives us our 3. So what do we do to make this 3 into a 12? What do we have to do with the 3? What do we do with the 3 to make it into a 12? Okay, multiply by 4 times 4, 3 times 4. Okay, we multiply by 4, good. So if I multiply this denominator by 4, that means I multiply the numerator by 4. So 2 times 4, this will give us 8. So now, this part right here, let me see if I can find just a little slip of paper so you can see it. Alright, so we can focus just on this now. Now this is going to look similar to what we did up here. When we have a common denominator, we do not do anything with the denominators. The denominator is what's down below. Okay, so we keep that. And what we keep it to, this is going to be our 12. But the operation of adding goes with the numerator. So 3 plus 8 gives us 11. So 11/12, that is definitely a proper fraction because my numerator is smaller than the denominator. Okay? Alright? So you went from the denominator not being common by finding the LCM. Knowing the multiplication facts will definitely help getting this answer a lot quicker. But if you're not sure, list it out. And you're finding the lowest number that they both have in common. Because yes, they both have what? 24 in common? Okay, if I kept going, this would have been a 24. If I kept going, this would be a 21. Then you have a 24. Yeah, they both have 24 in common, but we want the least, the lowest number that they have in common. When it's the M, that's the multiplication table. Okay, LCM, that's when you're dealing with the multiplication table. GCF is when you're dealing with the factors. Where is that number found inside of a multiplication table? Okay? All right, we're going to get into the times in a second. One moment. All right? So, if we do, that was with the addition. So this time we have our 4/5 minus our 1/2. Okay, I know for a lot of people like, man, this is so easy, this is so easy. Well, that's great for you. Perfect. But this is what I do on my part of the world. Okay, there's tons of other people that are showing you the derivative of stuff. There's so many other people that are just taking pages out of books and just going problem through problem through problem. That's fine. I'm focusing on the people that basically have math trauma. They see math, they break out in hives. They see math, they immediately go back to when they were in elementary school and they were made fun of for being too slow. Okay? No one is too slow here. This is a safe space where you can go ahead and share your love. Now, take a look at the denominators. The denominators are not the same. So that means we need to find the LCM, the least common multiple. So we're looking at the 5 times table and we're looking at the 2 times table. So for the 5 times table, you have 5, 10, 15, 20, and there's more. For the 2 times table, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and it can keep going. Right? So what is the lowest number that they have in common? Okay, Stargirl, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Congola, I see you. Okay, Stargirl, I see you again. Juice Up, I see you. Alright, so this is what they have in common. The lowest number they have in common. I know if I kept going with the 2 times table, I know I would get the 2 and the 20 easily. But we're looking for the lowest, the least common. So that means we want our denominators, which I'm going to put over here. We want our denominators to be 10s. Okay. So in order for me to change this 5 to a 10, what do I need to do to that 5? In order to change it from a 5 to a 10, what do I need to do with that 5? Okay, so Leroy times 2, Juice Up times 2, Colorful times 2, welcome in Colorful. Okay, Big Al multiplied by 2, Stargirl multiplied by 2, good. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to take whatever I do in the denominator. That doesn't want to work, that's crazy. I need to do it into numerator. So if I multiply 2 to the 5 to get this 10, that means I got to multiply 2 to the 4 to give me this 8. Okay. Nope, just doing fractions. I don't take requests. Okay. So for the 2's, how do I change this 2 to a 10? Okay. So I'm doing this to prepare people for their exams, especially people that have taken the exams multiple times, and all they have to do is some tweaking. Okay, Mary Pat, I see you. Thank you so much. Alright. Is that Insar? Okay, Colorful, I see you. Tommy, I see you. Thank you, Tommy Lee. Alright, Big Al, I see you. Alright. So in order for us to get this 2 to a 10, I need to multiply by 5. Whatever I do in the denominator, I have to do to its numerator. So 1 times 5, that gives me 5. Alright. So now, all this fun stuff, ignore. Train your brain to focus on one thing. So now the one thing is the 8 over 10 minus the 5 over 10. Now this is the part that a lot of people screw up. We know we're doing subtraction. So 8 minus 5, all right, beautiful thing, gives me 3. But then people say, oh, 10 minus 10, that will give me 0. So it's undefined. That means I'm done. No. When you are combining, okay, when you're doing 10 minus 10, the tens is your common denominator. You leave it alone. The operation is for your numerators. Okay, is that a little bit clear? Okay, good. So now 3/10, that's a proper fraction because my numerator is smaller than my denominator. And we don't have to reduce because the only thing that 3 and 10 have in common is 1. Okay, so it's already at its lowest term. So your answer, you got your 3/10. Not 30. Okay, 3/10. Okay. All right. How are we feeling so far? Okay, how are we feeling so far? So that's basically adding and subtracting fractions. You have to have a common denominator. Okay, so Star Girl, you're feeling good? All right. Okay, any questions? All right, thank you, Truth. All right, Leroy, good. Yes, it's a good refresher. And this is needed. So when you see fractions in any of your exams, don't flip out. Okay, that's the inner child really saying, I don't know this, but you do. If you're adding or subtracting, you need to have a common denominator. So in order for you to get that common denominator, you need to know their LCM. So the LCM is basically their multiplication tables, and you take the lowest number from the multiplication table. All right? So once you do that, make that into your denominators. That's what we did for this one. We had the 4 and the 3. We noticed that the lowest number that they had in common in their multiplication tables was 12. So then we had to think, what times my current denominator will make it into 12? Okay? You have your 3. Whatever you do in your denominator, you do in the numerator. Okay? You learned this in primary school? Good. Because sometimes here in the States, people might have to leave school for several different reasons. There are some people that they didn't choose their parents, they didn't choose their current situation, so a lot of them probably had to leave primary school because they were doing a lot of traveling. Or they probably had multiple teachers in one school year, so they didn't have consistency. So they probably might have a teacher that's like, here, let's just do addition. Oh, you don't like fractions? Okay, we're not going to do fractions. Instead, we'll go out to recess. So there's so many factors that everyone may have seen this or may have never seen this. Okay? So that's why I do these things step by step. All right? And if this is too easy for you, well, you know what? Thanks so much for coming by. But this is the pace that I'm going at. Okay? I appreciate you. Yeah, it's like really, it's just going step by step. Now you don't have a lot of additional problems. So this is what we're going to do next. Now we're going to work on multiplication. So now we just got to take a breath because we're switching our rules. So we have to get our brain just some time to stop for a moment. Because when you are multiplying fractions, you don't have to worry about a common denominator. Now, I am not using an X to represent multiplication. I'm going to use my parentheses. Okay? You can use a parenthesis or you can have a dot to represent. Now, remember, fractions, okay, also called ratios, This is what you can do for multiplication. So let's take a look. One of the ways that we can do this is we could multiply straight across horizontally. Okay, we can multiply straight across, and then once we get our answers, see if we need to simplify further. Okay, we'll do that step first. So I'm going to put that over here. So if we multiply straight across, we have 2 times 4. That gives us 8. And we have 3 times 5. That gives me 15. So now I'm looking at the ratio itself. So I'm not looking at this anymore. I'm focusing my attention on the 8/15. So think of the multiplication tables for the 8s. Think of the multiplication for the 15. Do they have anything in common other than 1? Do they have anything in common other than 1? Okay, Big Al saying no. Leroy is saying no. And if you're not sure, you can put a question mark into the chat. Okay, Stargirl is saying no. Hey Will, how are you? All right. Welcome on in. Gina, thanks so much for the follow. Okay, EC Dubs is saying no. Olivia is saying nope. They do not. Exactly. And also another thing, and I don't want to make it a definite rule, but this helps sometimes. 8 is an even number. Okay, even numbers, anything that's divisible by 2. All right, including 0. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever. That's an even number. 15, that's an odd number. Okay, divisible, anything's divisible by, divisible by 3. Okay, so 1, 3, 5, well, not divisible by 3, but anything that is not even. Okay, most of the time, they don't have any reduction, unless it's like, say, 21 over 24. Okay, they both have 3 in common, so there's something that's there. But majority of times when you have an even number and an odd number, regardless where it's placed, majority of times it doesn't reduce, but always check. So yes, your answer is 8/15. The other way that I mentioned is called cross simplifying. I noticed that my 2 and my 5, one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator. Do they have anything in common other than 1? Yeah, but anything divisible by 1 is itself. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? Alright? So JS, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Just need one more. Okay, Anna. Hello, Anna's World. Welcome back. Okay, I see you. So, other than 1, we don't have anything in common. So now, I have my 4 and my 3. Does 4 and 3 have anything in common? Okay. Can I do an example where you do cross-canceling? That's what I'm doing right now, Leroy. That's what I'm doing. Other than 1, does 4 and 3 have anything in common in their multiplication table? Okay, Big Al, I see you. Stargirl, I see you. JS, I see you. Stargirl. That's GCF. Okay? That's GCF. We're not looking at the GCFs. Okay, you got it. So, the only thing, they don't have anything for the LCM. Okay, the least common multiple. Most of the time, when you're trying to do simplification, you're looking at the least common multiple. Okay? Other than 1, they don't have anything in common. But this is what's funny. When you did the 2 and 5, you're like, nope, there's nothing in common. But then when you did the 4 and 3, all of a sudden I'm getting some answers of 12. or yeses. Why was that different? The way that you do your cross simplification for the 2 and 5 is exactly the same that you did for the 4 and 3. So since we didn't have anything to simplify, that's when I would multiply straight across. Okay, so that's how we will get solid for our 8/15. Alright, so let's try another one. So we have, let's say, 3/4 times 2/5. You accidentally saw 10 at first. That's all right, Tabitha, because a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Okay? Because we're not looking at the GCF, the greatest common factor. We're looking at the least common multiple. The multiple deals with the multiplication table. The factors deals with where do I see, let's say, let me move this down for a second. So if I was saying, all right, where do I see a 5 in, I see a 5 in the 1 times table and the 5 times table. Where do I see a 2? I see a 2 in the 1 times table and the 2 times table. So the only thing that they both have in common is 1s. But if I was looking for the GCF, where do I see 5s? I see 5s in the 1 times table, the 5 times table. Where do I see 2s? I see 2s in the 1 times table and the 2 times table. Okay, do you see how it's like that difference? Now, we're multiplying, okay? So what we can do, one of two ways. Let's do multiplying across first. Then I will do, as you like to call it, the cross cancel. So multiplying first, you're multiplying straight across. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. 4 times 5 gives me 20. Now, what was different between the last one, we had an even and an odd number. And the only thing that the 8s and the 15 had in common was 1s. But here, we got 2 even numbers, 6 and 20. So which number do you really see both the 6 and the 20s? Okay. Since they're both even numbers, that means they're both divisible by what? I think that's a better question. They're both divisible by what? Okay, thank you for sharing live. Star Girl, I see you. Joy, I see you. Thank you so much for participating. Okay. Is Same, I see you. Anna, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Okay. I see a whole grade dots. Okay. So there, Nanny, I see you. Good. Queen, I see you. There we are. So since they're both divisible, when they're even, they're usually divisible by either 2 or 4. Or even more than that. Okay? But it's usually divided by an even number. So I couldn't use 4 because 6 divided by 4, that'll give me a decimal. That's not going to work. But I can divide the 6 by 2. That gives me a 3. And I can divide the 20 by 2 to give me my 10. So now look at my answer. 3, which is an odd number, and 10, which is an even number. And the only thing that 3 and 10 have in common is 1. Alright. So now, Diesel, remember there's multiple ways of doing the same thing. Okay, remember 20 divided by 2, that will give me 10. So now, if I wanted to do what's called cross simplifying, okay, or you guys like to call it cross cancel, I'll do it. So I'm taking a look. I have my 3 and I have my 5. Does 3 and 5 have anything in common other than 1? No. So I cannot simplify the 3 and the 5. But then, if I look at the 2 and the 4, they do have something in common. What it is 2. So if I take this 2 and divide by 2, that will give me a 1. And if I take this 4 and divide by 2, that'll give me a 2. So now what you do, and I'm going to bring it down here, is you're basically taking what's left. And it looks like this. It looks like 3 over 2 times 1 over 5. So just like what we did up top, we're going to multiply straight across. Okay, so this is after we cross simplified. And we're going into, so 3 times 1 gives me 3. And 2 times 5 gives me 10. Okay, 2 different ways, same result. You pick which way you feel comfortable with. So if you're preparing for any kind of standardized test, so I'm talking about the ACT, the SAT, can't even speak. Okay, your ASVAB, your Accuplacer, your GED, or any high school equivalency test, all they really care about is did you pick the right option. But if you're currently in a class, they want to see your work. Okay? You want to see your work. Alright? So exactly. People learn differently. That's why we have the different options. How are you, Amber? It's been a minute. And as well, I got a whole list. Trust me. I got you. Well, can you do this? Can you do it? Calm down. Okay, it has been a minute. I hope you're doing well. All right, you're so welcome. Because I know you want to get all your options, and I get it. Okay, I truly do. So, we worked just on multiplying. Now, let's work on dividing. Okay, and if there is a question, try to put it up there as best you can. And I know if I'm going, I don't think I'm going too fast, but if there is a situation that you feel that I am, go ahead and let me know. Alright, so now, let's go into dividing. So we have 1/3 divided by 2/5. We'll start off small for right now. Okay, once I finish this division, then I'm going to make it a little bit more challenging. Okay, now, since a lot of exams, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, and now with my discovery, the GRE, you cannot use a calculator. Okay, so with that information, a lot of the stuff you're going to have to do manually. Alright, so instead of trying to divide a fraction with a fraction, and it's going to look funky. So like if I wrote it out, if I did my 1/3 divided by 2/5, you're like, where do I start? Just now. Okay? Make your life so much easier. We're just going to throw that away, pretend that never existed, into a zigabage. Okay? So the best way to do this, as some people are putting it in, we're going to take our philosophy of subtracting polynomials with the fractions. We're going to keep the first ratio. We're going to change the division to its inverse, which we're going to talk about that in a second, and then we're going to flip or do the reciprocal of that second ratio. All right? So this is what happens. We're going to keep the 1/3. So we'll keep that as 1/3. We're going to change our division sign to its inverse. The inverse is what? Multiplication. You don't want the multiplication sign being represented for x. Once you get into algebra, trust me, x is a variable. So when teachers see it, and especially when you say like 2, if you're trying to say 2x, you don't want to say 2xx. We're like, no, that's porn. We're not doing that. Okay? We're either representing it by parentheses or you're representing it by a dot. And now we're going to flip the 2/5 to 5/2. So now with us changing it into multiplication, now you're basically doing exactly what we did down here. Okay? We're either going to do, as you call it, cross cancel, or you can multiply horizontally and then see if you can simplify. So we're doing the whole property of multiplications right here. So now let's take a look. We have 1 times 5. That would give us 5. And 3 times 2, that would give us 6. And the only thing that 5, 6 has in common is 1. So it can't be reduced. So this is your answer. Okay? Right, Leroy. Yep, because we don't have any cross canceling. Because if you look here, the only thing that 1 and 2 have in common are 1s. That's not going to do anything. Anything divided by 1 is itself. If I try to cross cancel the 5 and the 3, the only thing that 5 and 3 have in common is 1 as well. So I can't cross simplify that one either. Or cross cancel, as you like to say. So you just multiply horizontally across, and you'll see that you get your answer. Okay? Well, thank you. All right? Let me see if I can slide this over so we can use it as a reference. And then, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a problem up here, and I just want you to try it to the best of your knowledge. Hold your answers. Okay? Hold your answers until I tell you to put it up there. Okay? Try to do this one. Hold your answers. Okay? Financial expert, this is not the live for you. I'm so sorry. Okay? Thank you. Alright? So give it a try. Use this as a reference. Don't put your answers up. Just wait a moment. Okay? We got like 30 seconds maybe. Alright? So for people that are coming in, we're solving. Do not put your answers up. See? This is what happens. Do not put your answers up. Hold your answers up. Because it's not depending on, yes, you're going to be picking up your speed. But right now, I don't want to see answers. I'll let you know when you can share your answers. So just hold it down. If you need to type it into your phone because you're getting a little anxious, just don't hit send. Okay? If that helps, that helps. Alright? Give it 10 more seconds, and I want you to put your answers up. Okay? Thank you for being patient. Alright? Go ahead and put your answers up. What do you guys got? Alright? Welcome in. Okay, Boogie, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Queen, I see you. Darker, I saw you earlier. User 51, I see you. Star Girl, I see you. I'm calling notes. So this is fractions operations. That's what I titled it. So fraction operations, because we're doing adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and they're called operations. Okay, Leroy, I see you. Okay, Tabitha, I see what you have. Okay, all right. Let's see if we can get a couple more. And if there are some people that are like, I did not know where to start because I came in later on, you can put a question mark in. That's perfectly fine. Because I'm going to be here to break it down. It's not going to be like, all right, here's the problem. All right, peace out. I'm out. How do we get 1/2 now that I'm doubting my answer? Okay, I'm going to show you, walk you through. All right. All right, good. And you got your answer as the 1/2 as well. All right. So now, think about what we were doing. Since we are dividing, always take a look in between, and it will tell you what operation you're doing. If you don't see anything, you just see parentheses like this one, that means you're multiplying. Now, always make sure, this is another thing, the difference between the division sign and the plus sign. Sometimes you gotta zoom in, because sometimes when they print these things out, they don't print it too clearly. So we are going to do, since it's division, we're going to keep, we're going to change, and we're going to flip. So we're going to keep that 3/8. We're going to change from multiplication to its inverse. The inverse of division is multiplication. There we go. And then we're going to flip the second ratio. So instead of 3/4, it's going to be 4/3. Okay. Now the way that you're going to solve this, I'm going to cover this up and push it up. The way that you can solve this is going to be one of two ways. So for the first way, I'm going to put my 3/8 times 4/3. You could multiply straight across. So 3 times 4, that gives me 12. And 8 times 3, that gives me 24. Now I notice that 12 and 24, they're both even. So I can simplify it to its LCM, the lowest common multiple. So we can do it by 2's, true. We can do this by 4's, true. We could do this, or actually the greatest common factor, sorry. We can do this by 6's, true. But we can also, because I'm lazy, we can do it by 12's. Okay? The reason why I know, because I know the 12 times table. And I know that 12 times 2 will give me 24. So if I want to reduce this, 12 divided by 12, that gives me 1. And 24 divided by 12 will give me 2. That's one way of doing it. Alright? Another way, because I like to show you, there's multiple ways. Is called cross canceling. See, I'm learning. So if you take a look, you figured it out? Yes. So if you take a look on the diagonals, I don't know why I keep putting my highlighters away, like I'm not about to use them. So I have 3 and I have 3. Oh, that's easy. Well, I know they both have 3 in common. So 3 divided by 3 gives me a 1. And the same thing happens down here. But then I can cross simplify right here. with the 4 and the 8. So what does 4 and 8 have in common? 2 could work, true, but here I want the greatest. Well, it's kind of tough to say the greatest, but I want that, how should I put it? The least common factor that they have in common. 4 and 8, they both have 4 in common. So I could say 4 divided by 4, that gives me 1. And 8 divided by 4 will give me 2. So now this is what you have. You have 1/2 times 1 over 1, which is the same as saying 1 whole. Okay? So when we do this, anything times 1 is going to be itself. So it still gives you your 1/2. 1 times 1 gives us 1. 2 times 1 gives us 2. Alright? Okay? You can do that as well, Z. You can do that as well. Multiplier. Thank you, Tabitha. Sometimes my brain is just too much. Alright? Okay. So that was adding and subtracting, need a common denominator. Multiplying, you either multiply straight across horizontally, or you do what's called cross cancel. But for dividing, you want to do your keep, change, flip. And then you can do your cross simplifying or multiplying. Okay? All right. So now, let's step this up just a little bit more. And I got like 2 more. So, let's try this. I'm going to walk you through step by step. Don't need to panic. I'm right here. So we have 1 and 1/4. Oh God. I can hear you all the way over here. Plus 5/6. Okay? Don't freak out. Breathe. Remain calm. We can do this. Alright? So, the way that we can approach it, a lot of people would say, alright, just focus on the 1/4 and focus on the 5/6 and then add the 1 whole to it. You can do that way. Okay? Or you can make this mixed number into an improper fraction and then combine, like get your common denominators and so forth. I will show it both ways as best I can. Okay? So, the first way is they're leaving the 1 whole out, and they're going to bring that 1 whole into the party towards the end. But right here, with the 1/4 and the 5/6, okay, we need to find a common denominator. So if we have 4 and 6, so we got our 4 times table and our 6 times table, what do they have in common? So we're looking for the LCM. So we have our 4 times table, which gives us 4, 8, 12, 16, and it goes on. For the 6 times table, we have our 6, 12, 18, 24. Right now, what is the lowest number that they have in common? Well, it's going to be the 12s. Okay? So we want our denominators to be 12s. So we're not messing with the 1 right now. The 1's just kind of like in the shadows. Okay? So if anything, how do I change the 4 to a 12? Well, we did that. That means we need to multiply this 4 by 3. And whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do to its numerator. We need to multiply it by 3. So this gives us 3/12. To change this 6 to a 12, we need to multiply by 2. Whatever we do in the denominator, we do in its numerator. So 5 times 2, that gives us our 10. Alright? So now, common denominators, we can add them together. So what do? We don't do any combining with the denominators. We just bring it over. But we will combine the numerators, which gives us 13. Right now, good, Big Al. Right now, we have what's called an improper fraction. The reason being, your numerator is bigger than your denominator. And another way of saying this, there is a whole number that's in here. Okay, there's a whole number that's in here. So if I take out that whole number, which is the same as saying 12 over 12, okay, I'm taking out one whole. A number divided by itself equals 1, so that's one whole. If you have one whole pizza and you cut it in 12 slices and all 12 slices are there, guess what? You still got a whole pizza. No one hasn't touched it yet. You hit it very well. Good job. So that means there's one whole that we're pulling out. But if one whole is being pulled out, what's left? It's 1/12. So now, this is when we have to bring back the original one whole that was here. Because now you got not one, but 2 whole pizzas. So now, if I add that original one that was there, let me draw a little arrow. That's where this is coming from. So my solution would be 2 and 1/12. Okay. So that's pulling the original whole to the side, just focusing on the fractions, getting a common denominator, going ahead and adding them. But when you have your improper fraction, because your numerator is bigger than your denominator, take out one whole that represents your denominator, the 12 over 12. So now 13 minus 12, that gives us the 1. And you already pulled out the one whole. Where did this one come from? It came from this. Oh, sorry. Let's use a different color. This came from, okay, that didn't help. This. Okay. So this is representing that. So that's 1. If I may be perfectly honest with you, that's confusing. That's a lot of steps. That's just for me. Now, if I was to do it and I want to be very, I don't want to say basic, this is what I would do. Here's my original, 1/4 plus 5/6. I would change my mixed number into an improper fraction. Now, if you forgot how to do that, that's fine. I'm here to show you. You're going to take your denominator of 4 and you're going to multiply by the whole number. So 4 times 1 gives us 4. Now, we're going to take that answer of 4 and we're going to add it to the numerator. So 4 plus 1, this is now 5. And your numerator or your denominator is still going to be the same. So you have your 5/4. Okay? So change your mixed number to an improper fraction. So now you got 5/4 plus 5/6. Now here is going to look very similar to what we did up top. Again, we need a common denominator. The reason why? We're adding. If we're adding, we need a common denominator. We already know the common denominator is 12. And how do we, and how do we go from a 4 to a 12? We multiply it by 3. Whatever you do in the denominator, you do in the numerator. 15. How do I go from a 6 to a 12? I multiply it by 2. Whatever I do in the denominator, I do in its numerator. So that gives me a 10. And I forgot who had it up there earlier. But now, common denominator, check, that's a 12. We're not adding the denominators. When we're adding, we're keeping the denominator, but we're adding the numerators. So 15 plus 10, that gives us 25. So, how do I get from an improper fraction to, let's say, a mixed number? So we're going to divide it, right? Let me take it off to the side over here. So we're bringing back the long division. So what's in the numerator goes underneath the house. Remember that? Whatever your divisor is goes on the outside. And then we have to think, how many groups of 12 can get us close to 25 without going over? Well, there will be 2. Because 12 times 2 gives me 24. So now 25 minus 24, that gives me 1. Now, we're not adding a decimal, we're not adding any zeros. This right here, that's your remainder. Okay? The way that you represent your remainder, you always put it over the original total, which is 12. So this is why your answer is going to be 2 and 1, 12. Okay? 2 different ways. Okay? 2 different ways, same answer. Okay, so this one was the second way. Yes. Thank you, knowing. Alright. Alright. So we're going to try another one. And this one, I'm going to do it with division. And then this will be our last one for today. Because I have to get myself ready for tutoring. No, 1/12 cannot be reduced to 1/3. Because 1 and 12, the only thing they have in common is 1. If this was a 4 over 12, that can be reduced to 1/3. Hi, MJ, how are you? Yeah, today wasn't really announced. I just did it at the last minute. But don't forget, MJ, we do have the replays. Okay, the replays are on my YT channel. Okay, so if anybody's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need, this is fractions. So if you go to my YT channel, okay, you can go ahead and subscribe to that. Pin this. Okay, so you can go to my YT channel, Math by Audrey, and you will see all of my replays. Okay, I haven't put up this morning's yet. It's been crazy. Or I've been crazy. Alright. Okay. Alright. Let's try one more. Oh, wait. Okay. So, we are... Let's see if it's going to adjust. There we go. So you're not being blinded. So, for our last one, we're going to have we have 7/10 divided by 2 1/5. Probably saying, what? It's okay. Okay? So, think about what we did earlier. So, we're doing division. So right away we should be thinking of keep, change, flip. But it's kind of hard to flip a mixed number. What do I have to do, Felicia? Good. What do I have to do? How can I change this? Change it to a what? What type of fraction? Okay. Alright, so Leroy, I got you. Alright. So Felicia, I see you. Leroy, I got you again. Is that Kai? Alright, so user 51, we need to change it, not to a decimal. Big Money, what's up? Okay, let's change it to an improper fraction, because that will help us with the flip. So if we take a look, we multiply the denominator by the whole number, so that's 5 times 2, which gives me 10. We take that answer of 10 and we add the numerator. So 10 plus 1, that will give me 11. And you put it over the original denominator, which is 5. Okay? So now I'm bringing everything else down. Bring my denominator, my division, bring down my 7/10. But in order for us to do the keep, change, flip, that means we're keeping my 7/10. We're changing the division to its inverse, which is multiplication. And then we're going to flip that second ratio. So now it's 5 over 11. Okay? Good. Alright, so good. You're with me, Leroy. Good, good, good. Now, let's take a look. We can either multiply straight across, but then here's my thing. I know 10 times 11 is 110, but do I really want to simplify 35 over 110? No. You know why? 'Cause I'm lazy. Right? I don't want to do all that work. So that's why sometimes knowing about the cross multiplying, or as you guys like to say, the cross cancel, let's see what's happening. If I notice, I have a 5 and I have a 10. 5 and 10, they both have what in common? They both have 5s in common. So 5 divided by 5, oops, that'll be a 1. So sorry. And 10 divided by 5 will be a 2. Okay? Got it, Leroy? Awesome. So now, if I do the 7 and 11, okay, now I need a Slurpee. Alright? See, what happened to the big Slurpees back in the day? But we'll talk about that later, because now I really want a Slurpee. Alright, so we have 7 and 11. The only thing those two have in common is a 1. So what you actually have here is 7 over 2 times 1 over 11. So if I multiply straight across, this is so much easier, because this gives me 7 over 22. 7's an odd number, 22 is an even number, and the only the only number they both have in common is a 1. Okay? Yeah, Big Al. Look at you. Okay? What happened to the 2? So the 2 right here, it multiplied with the 11. That's where the 22 came from. Okay, so we replaced the 10 with the 2. That's where that came from here. And then we multiply straight across. So 7 times 1 gives us 7. And 2 times 11 gave us the 22. Okay, got you. All right. Okay. So just by knowing, all right, cool. So just by knowing the basic concepts, I don't like to call it the basic, but that's basically what it is. All right, just by knowing what to do with the fraction of operations. So like basically to know that when you're adding and subtracting, you need to have a common denominator. All right. When you're multiplying, you can multiply straight across and then simplify, or you can check to see if you can cross cancel or cross simplify. And then when you're doing your division, you want to remember that you want to do the keep, change, flip. The keep the first ratio, you change division to multiplication, and then you flip the second ratio, aka fraction. And then from here, you're doing exactly what you would do with multiplication. You could either multiply straight across and simplify, or you can do what you call cross cancel or simplify. Okay? All right? So this will be a part, give me some time, for my Y2 channel. Now, if you want to do more practice that you will actually see for the test, not so much the knowledge, but more so like how would they put it as a word problem? How would they represent it here? How do I add, subtract, and you want more practice with it? That's where my algebra at your pace comes in, okay? I do this sequence so you can actually get the practice that you know. Because here's the thing. You've learned all this stuff. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Okay? What's the YT again? Sure, I'll put it up there. So now you got all this stuff. What are you going to do with this? Like seriously, what are you going to do with this now? So you're either going to just go, maybe watch the World Cup a little bit. I think it's still on, I'm not sure. I think it started at 3. But at the same time, you can watch that. But then, if you don't solidify what you're learning, it just goes out the window. All right? So let me talk to you for a second. So if anything, I want you to be able to break these concepts down. I want you to, you're so welcome. I want you to be able to understand these concepts so you can apply to it. So it's great that you're watching a lot of lives, which is awesome, but at the same time, that's not practice. Just watching the lives, even if you're being a little interactive with it, that's not practice. Because once that live is done, and if you didn't do additional practice to solidify it and put it in your brain, it was just entertainment, and then your brain's like, okay, yeah, it doesn't have to be in long term. We're just going to put it in the back burner type thing. And then when it's time for you to take the test, you're going to be like, I remember Miss Audrey did this on the live. I remember that the math tutor did this on the live. I remember that this person did this on the live. What did they say? And you're spending so much time to figure out what was said weeks ago that you are spending a lot of time trying to figure out, and then you end up guessing. And then you get shocked when you see that you didn't score as high as you wanted to for the exam. So regardless if you want to buy my stuff, if you want to buy someone else's stuff, that's fine. I'd rather you get the assistance that you need. But no matter what, the concept of math is going to be the same wherever you go. But how you break down the test, how you feel with the test, and how you practice to get to the test, that's what's different. All right? So, again, if you need anything, click on my profile picture a couple of times. You can send me a message. If you're like, you know what, Audrey, I want to buy your stuff. I need it. Like, I need the practice. Where do I go to buy that book? I want to buy like the first couple books. Do you have like a collection and all that stuff? You can ask me those questions, or you can go straight to the link that's in my profile. It says Stand Store by Math by Audrey. Click on that and it will take you directly to, ooh, that's weird. It will take you directly to my Stand Store. Crazy. Okay, so let me show you. So if you go to my profile, sorry, it's going to be really blinding. I loved how yesterday I was fighting for life. Now I'm fighting against the light. So if you go to my Stand Store, it's this button right here. Just go ahead and hit that. Sometime today, fat fingers. Here we go. All right, and it will take you straight to my Stand Store. So here's the thing about the Stand Store that can help you to one of two ways. If you want to see all my replays, just click on that YouTube, YT, and it'll take you straight to my YT. Go ahead and subscribe, that'll be awesome. And then if you scroll a little bit, you'll see the TikTok lives, Uncut with Math. All the TikTok lives that I've done, I've been here for well over a year. I always want to say, it's definitely a year and a quarter probably by now. Okay, so all of my TikToks are there. Okay, all of the ones that I need. Go ahead, peruse, take a look at it. That's awesome. Now, oops, going a little too far. But if you want to buy the books, again, go ahead and just scroll down. You can get this free checkup list. Okay, so if you want to click here and do the free checkup, all I ask is for your name and for your email. Am I going to harass you? No. I just really want to know who's looking at my stuff. Okay? And if you have any tutoring interests, you can do that. But also, like, I have my back to school math starters. You can just take a look at all the concepts that's there. So when you click on it, it doesn't necessarily take you straight to a payment form. It takes you to the description. Okay, so you can describe a little bit more, and you can just sit, read it. What is this package? What does it hold? Who's it good for? Okay, and then it goes to the payment information. Okay, and if you're not ready, that's fine. Scroll all the way back up to the top. You hit that arrow, and it'll take you right back to the Stand Store. And you hit the arrow again, it'll take you back to TikTok. But if you want physical copies, trust me, most of these are all digital. Okay, so you should be getting them directly to your email. But if you want physical copies, I'm going to go do this really fast because I don't want anybody getting sick and dizzy. Okay, if you got flashcards, you got all that stuff, peruse it. If you want the physical books or resources on the A, you go all the way to the bottom, and then you can click on that Shop Physical Books. It will take you to a part on my website. If you want to take a little tour of the book, just hit the video right at the very top, and it'll take you on a nice little tour of what the book is, just to give you a rough idea. All right, and okay, we can get out of that. There we go. But if you keep scrolling, it gives you the detailed information for each of the volume. It's all 10 books, okay? But if you notice, the price of the physical copy is a lot more than one of the individual digital books. The digital books, if you just want it individually, is $12.99. But the physical books is going to be more because we're using color ink, as well as looking at the number of pages. Okay, so I just want to give you that as a heads up. So if you're like, well, can I see what the physical book looks like? Sure. So glad you're asking all these questions. It's like in your brain. All right, so if I look at book 1, volume 1, okay, it touches on integers, decimals, and exponents. So when you go in, there's going to be a QR code that you scan, and it will give you the whole entire playlist. This one doesn't. This is just an example. So it'll give you the whole playlist. Notice we start with the types of numbers, and then it gives you a place for you to write down your notes, and it gives you also extra practice problems. Then they talk about adding integers, subtracting integers, and they always get some extra practice problems. So now you're learning it and you're practicing it, because now you're solidifying it inside your brain. So then from here, you have your fractions, we're repeating again, then you have your decimals, then the properties of exponents, which is huge, as opposed to the square roots. So with that, at the end, you're given some kind of quiz, and there's always an answer key. And if you forget certain concepts, I give you reference pages. So the reference pages, this is where a lot of the color ink goes. Here's your rules of integers. You remember color, okay? You remember color instead of procedures, especially for women. We're really geared towards color. That's our genetics type thing. So we have our decimals, we have our fractions operations, we have our order of operations, we have from percent to decimal, decimal to percent, we have all of that. And if you can't remember your factors of numbers, hey, I got you right here. So if you want to know, all right, what's the factors of 12? Here you go, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. What was the factors of 6? If I go up, I got 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. What was the greatest or the least common? The lowest that they have in common is 6. Boom. Or not 6. The lowest that they have in common is 3. But the greatest number they have in common is 6. So that's one of the ways that you can do these factors. Most factor sheets only go up to 100. Mine goes up to 200. Okay, so now you're able to do larger numbers. The more exposure that you have for the books, the better it's going to solidify inside your brain. Of course, so you go through some more reference pages, and then since exponents is a huge thing that a lot of people miss, I made you flashcards. So that means if you can copy this page or you can take this page out, you can fold it. Okay, so if you fold it like this, then you got the questions on one side, and then you would have the answers on the other side. Okay, so before you make any kind of purchase or whatsoever, make sure you message me, okay? Because I really want this to happen for you. Now, one of the things, especially that I said this morning, and I greatly appreciate the people that reached out to me this morning. It really touched me, because I know a lot of you guys are going back to school. You feel intimidated. Some of you are a little bit scared. But whatever your dream is, you got to go after it. Don't let anybody, society, parents, anyone stop. Oh, that's a stupid question. Oh, that's stupid. You're too old. You're never too old. Never. So it kind of reminds me of how we're going through life. It's almost like, you have that great grandmother that has a really old house, and in the basement, like the light is in the center of the room in the basement. So there's no light switch. Like you have to go down in order to find that light and pull it. And it's like all swinging around. It's all creepy and stuff. But life is just like that. When you first open the door, you can see the first 2, maybe 3 steps. And then once you get to that 4th step, it basically gets swallowed into that darkness. And you don't know if there's a step, yes or no, but you still go. You may test it by putting your little foot down, and then all of a sudden you feel confident. You're like, oh, okay, I can put all my weight on my foot. All right, cool, I didn't die. So now let me try to do it again. And then let me try to do it again. You're going through life trying, but it's trial and error. And then all of a sudden you feel something solid. You're like, oh, I'm not on the steps anymore. Now I'm on solid ground. but you still can't see your forward, your future. You still can't see behind you. You can't even see your hand in front of your face because it's so dark. But you know you've been in this situation before. So what do? You randomly put your hand up to try to find the string to pull down. And then when you think you got it, all of a sudden it backs away and you're like, ugh. Just like life. When you think you got life right by the balls, and then all of a sudden, bam, something happens. But one day you're going to hold on to that string and you're going to pull on it, because the only way for that light to turn on is for you to do some kind of action to illuminate it. So when you finally put on, now you can see your surroundings. Now it's not as scary as you thought it was. Now you can say, if I clean this up, this actually could look nice. And then you go after what you were looking for. Same thing in life. You are the controller of that light. Don't let the darkness scare you. Go after what you want. So now, thank you. Sometimes I get these things. First it was the tree. Right? First it was the tree, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh my God, this is a really good analogy. And then your life going down into a dark basement. You have been in that basement before, but because it's dark this time, it's so scary. And it's like, should I take that step? Yes. Because you know when you turn that light on, it's going to click and you're going to be all right. But that's what happens. So if it's not my stuff, that's fine. If you want to talk and let's see if we can get a plan together so you can get successful for your next exam, let's do it. Go ahead, send me a message, say, hey Audrey, this is what I'm doing. Where should I go? How should I do it? And based on the people that I saw today, which a couple of them I couldn't respond to because there was just too much going on, but I'm going to respond today. Some of them, you guys are so close. You think you're like 8 miles away from your goal. And when I look at the results, I'm like, dude, all you have to do is just tweak a few things and you will be straight. So I can't wait to have these conversations with people, because I know we let our anxiety take over. Because I'm not learning as fast as everyone else, that means I'm stupid. No, that means you just needed more time to understand what is the situation, so then you can react properly. Don't worry about other people's speed. They're worrying about their lives. You worry about yours. And don't let society pin you up and say, well, you got to do this, because if not, you're not anything. Stop. Hey, General, how are you? All right. Running for my life like someone's chasing me when I had to cut it back off. Yep, I remember running for my life. Right. So here's my thing. You know what you want. Go after it. If you want to be a nurse, it has to be more than I want to help people, because you can help people doing several other things. But it's a dedication. It's a drive. I've always had passion to be a part of someone as they're growing in their process. Maybe that's it. But you have to go after what you want to go after. And if it's because of this math test that's holding you back, then we need to discuss a plan. I don't see anybody else. Hello, Lisa. I know. How have you been? I really want you to get this. If it's my books, great. If it's just like, hey, Audrey, I just want to throw some ideas at you, let's do it. Let's do a brainstorm. I have no problems with that. Okay? Busy summer. Oh, yeah, I know. All right, so again, if you have any questions, because I'm going to wrap this up because I got to get myself ready for my tutoring sessions. So if you need anything, please click on the profile. Don't think, oh, Audrey's going to think that I'm stupid and all this stuff. No, I got my own insecurities to worry about. I ain't got time for everybody else's. I got my own stuff. And we all do. But at the same time, We're all making strides. I'm making strides in my business. I'm changing it from ACG to Math by Audrey. And I feel like I'm being conceited because I didn't invent math. But at the same time, I'm saying that this is how I do it. And I've seen people being successful because I like to simplify the math. That's all I like to do. Do I use math terminology? I try to weave it in there here and there. But I try to make it in a way that anybody can understand it in a short amount of time. But here's the thing. I can't do it for you. You still have to put the work in. Okay? We still have to do that. Oh, new grandbaby. Congrats. All right. Oh, thanks, Big Al. Okay? So that's the key thing. So remember, practice. There's like 4 things I had to write down here, and then I'm done. All right? 1, I want you to understand and not memorize. Okay? I don't want you to say, okay, this is what Audrey said. Let me memorize that so I got it for the test. No. I want you to understand. That's why I do the whys. That's why I do the breakdowns nice and slow. I rather you understand when things come, so when they throw a situation at you, 1, you're not going to freak out because now you understand, how do I solve for X? How do I simplify a fraction? How do I set up a word problem? That's what I like to do. Then, like I said, practicing is not just watching videos. We have to do something after you saw this live. What are you going to do? You're going to talk to me and we're going to set up a plan? That's one thing. All right. Or are you going to look at some of your PDFs that you already have and you're doing some practice with that? And maybe you're saying, hey, Audrey, can you look at these practice problems for me and to check my answers? Hello. You can do that. Okay. Even if you do my freebie that I have on my Stand store and you're just like, I didn't get this, I didn't get this. Show me your work and let me take a look at it. And then I can give you an idea what's going on. Hello? I don't care if 1,000 people do it. It might take me a while, but I'm going to do it. If that's what you need, we'll do that. Okay? All right? So we want to match the resources to your needs. And like I said, I can teach you, but I can't do it for you. You have to be active. You have to take time to do and to learn the concepts so you'll be able to apply it to any situation. All right, everyone. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks, movie fans. Not a problem. So I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon-ish evening. Because the morning, Mama is getting herself together. Another phase, another step. So I will not be here in the morning. Go ahead, sleep in. But give me some time to upload all of the lives that we did today so I can have everything ready to go. But if you can buy some books, that will be amazing. But if you want some ideas, like am I getting the right book for the right thing, please let me know. Because you might need something for elementary, and I normally don't do elementary, but almost forgot. If you guys are doing, where'd my thing go? Where's my ad comments? There we go. If you guys are trying to go into nursing, make sure you go to a Blessed RN. If you need help us with dosage calculations, see a Blessed RN. If you need, I think Math Stephanie is her name. Is the other one? I always spell Stephanie incorrectly. I think if you go to Math Stephanie, I know I'm sweating because I got a uterus. It's crazy. So if you see Math Stephanie, and if you need assistance with elementary, with knowing your multiplications, going through things step by step, you can also go to Math Stephanie. And then if you want to learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide in a different and a fun way with the abacus, make sure you check out Learning with Lynette. Okay? that should be popping up too. Okay, so I just put all those things down. Okay, so you have some resources. If there's another resource, maybe I might know a person, reach out and let me know. How do you know you're going to get your questions asked? If you don't ask them. Okay? Love you guys. All right, have a great rest of your day. Drink water, get something to eat, enjoy life. All right, guys.